Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that's Connor. We are going to talk about Emerald City, Season 1, Episodes 1 and 2, which aired as a double. They're called The Beast Forever and Prison of the Abject. Start off spoiler free. I was going to say full spoilers there, but that's not true.
Just force a habit, isn't it?
Force a habit, because I always say that for everything. And then for all the other episodes, it's true. But for pilots and first episodes, we start spoiler free. So this is NBC's new Wizard of Oz reimagining in the style of Game of Thrones, I guess.
It is kind of watered down in that, kind of watered down Game of Thrones, political fantasy.
Yeah. I'm going to warn you right now. I don't think this is going to be one of the best, most in-depth reviews we'll ever do. Because, honestly, by about the 30-minute mark out of the 80, my attention was no longer kind of there.
Yeah, I was kind of checked out as well.
Yeah, I was really not. I mean, I was obviously still watching, and I wouldn't be
But
doing a
it's
review.
hard to stay engaged for 80 minutes of this.
And do you know what the funny thing is about it? Is that we always talk about how pilots for shows should be doubles, and they seem to stop doing it for a long time. And this one is a double. But the sad thing is that if you don't actually use that extra time wisely, it just makes the problem worse.
And almost the worst offense is that you could end it at the end of the first episode, because it's very clear where the end of that first episode is. Like, even if you watch them like condensed, you know exactly what point is because of it follows a typical episode structure. So it's like,
Which makes me think.
need to be?
Which makes me think it wasn't actually a double pilot.
Well, I mean,
per se.
the hint is that they have two separate names.
They do, but I didn't think it was though, because when it came up with the credits at the start, it said it was only when I looked at the IMDb afterwards that I realised they had different names. Because at the start it just said Part 1 written by Part, and Part 1 and 2 implies it was meant to be a whole.
But it doesn't feel like that.
No, so instead it rushes through the same amount of plot that I'd expect a pilot to, and because of that, I'm not that invested in a lot of it, and honestly, a lot of the elements are kind of goofy. I every time it cut to Emerald City and we have Vincent D'Onofrio as the wizard.
How much did they have to pay him for this?
I don't know, but he looks bored.
He does.
He looks
He
really
really
bored.
does.
The witches themselves, I didn't find particularly engaging. I felt like, the Wicked Witch of the West is running a brothel. How edgy is this? Cut to her in a
how
sex
very
scene.
wicked.
I don't know. It feels. I feel like I'm being super cynical, but it feels really. Because the sad fact is I actually kind of like the idea of a Dark Wizard of Oz story. Like, I've never seen Return to Oz, but I've heard it's a really dark sort of sequel where Dorothy goes back years later. But this is kind of. It feels like it is aping on other things like Game of Thrones. It feels like it's trying to do these different things, and as a result, it just feels like a watered down version of that. And while it's clearly having more money spent on it than what most of NBC is putting out, it still feels cheap as a result.
It does, and that's kind of its problem. Like Game of Thrones, regardless of any writing quality opinions, there is production value, and it looks good.
Yeah,
and
that bores me. Game of Thrones bores me. So,
I like it more than he does. That's a fact. But
so if Game of Thrones does not get me going, what does this do?
yeah, and that is the thing. It feels like, we want to have a Game of Thrones style show, but we can't actually do most of the stuff that Game of Thrones does. So let's just have a light version instead.
That's why that cut into the Wicked Witch, her introduction being like in a brothel and she's having sex. I was like, this is trying to be edgy.
That's the problem. It's like it's trying to, but it knows it can't because it's on network TV. So it's like pulling back, and you just look at it and see what it's doing instead of letting it just do it.
It comes across as like a little brother trying to imitate their older brother, and without understanding why the older brother does or likes what he likes.
Yeah,
that's what it feels like. That's not to say that it's terrible. I don't think it's terrible. I do think Vincent D'Onofrio's miscast, or he's phoning it in, or whatever. Like, every scene with him I thought was weird, and I thought a lot of the costumes and stuff that all the soldiers were wearing in Emerald City I didn't really like. I don't
mind the Kingsguard ones.
Which ones?
The plain metal ones with the helmets. I thought those looked alright.
It all felt a bit dress up to me, I guess, I feel like panto rather than actual period piece costumes. Even though I know it's not technically period piece because it's a mystical
It
setting.
is essentially panto, yeah.
But yeah, it felt like panel.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is some things to kind of like about. I think the rest of the cast for the most part's okay. The main girl, Adria Arjona, I think she's likable enough. She has a good sort of presence on screen. I do think they rush through her, like Dorothy's. Like I actually was shocked that we go through like 3 scenes with her before the names at the start stop.
Yeah.
We go through a scene where she's dropped off as a baby, as an orphan, and then her as an adult working as a nurse in the hospital, and how she interacts with one of the old ladies there, one of the patients, and then there's another scene with her at home talking about not knowing her real mother. And there's also a scene of her going and visiting her mother. This all happens in the space of about 2 minutes.
Yeah, but that's kind of I don't understand what the point of this is. Like, I mean, I get you want to establish her, but take time and actually establish her. Instead, you just get, especially the stuff, you know, the 20 years previously, her being dropped there. It's like, what's that actually adding to this at this point?
Well, no, I get why that's there, because I'm assuming that down the story that it's going to turn out that she's actually the daughter of whoever in Oz.
Well, yeah, but then why have the real mother thing there? And
well, because there's a scene when she goes into the mother's house eventually. I say house, the trailer. There's like charts of the weather. I think the mother was trying to find her way back to Oz.
Right, yeah.
So I think that is. I don't have a problem with that because I feel like that is a.
I feel like it was just
setup.
too brief.
Oh no, it was. They rushed through it, but the idea itself, I don't have a problem with.
Yeah.
But the issue I have though is that, like I say, if you'd taken the first half of that first episode, and given that 80 minutes, like doubled what you spent on that story, like I couldn't believe how quickly we got to Oz. I thought, no, spend half an hour with her in her present day life, establish her, instead of like condensing it all into a couple of lines of not knowing who she really is or thinking she doesn't live up to her mother's, her birth mother. Like, oh, maybe I'm not, what she expects. Maybe I've not done it enough. And I'm like, you're what, barely 20 years old and you're a nurse in a hospital? Like, that's a pretty reasonable go of it. Like, it's not that bad.
Yeah, I mean, she was a baby, and then it says 20 years later.
Yeah, so she can't be more than 21, 22 at absolute tops.
Yeah,
but it was a baby. I didn't look a toddler. So yeah, 21 tops.
Yeah, it was a crying baby.
And take some education to be a nurse. So she's clearly done a pretty good time, a good job in the time she's had. So I don't know what she's whinging about. But that's the whole idea that she's unsure of herself. It's all condensed into one scene in the kitchen while she's washing dishes with her mother. Her mother and father, by the way, we get one scene with essentially.
Yeah, this scene and that's it.
Yeah, this scene's it's like there's a scene where they're giving her a birthday cake and it goes into this dishwashing scene afterwards, and that's it. That's all you get of the parents. And it was making me think, well, is there going to be trips to and from? Like maybe later in the season she will get back and it'll be I'm going to go back because I've got a purpose there kind of thing. Is that, and we'll see more of all this?
Maybe, but judging by the idea of obviously trying to find a way back through charting all the weather storms and stuff, it would be like, well, that seems way too complicated then.
Maybe a season 2 thing. If it gets a season 2, which I don't know if it will, honestly.
I feel like that's ambitious.
I mean, it might find an audience. People who like Grimm or whatever might get into it. It might find it's...
Yeah, because Grimm was the lead-in, so maybe.
Yeah. But that's my big problem. Obviously, there's character motivations I don't quite get. Like, the guy who I think is becoming the Lion, the soldier.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I wasn't entirely sure. I mean...
There was a line about making it look like he was mauled by lions, which I was like, oh, so he's becoming the Lion. Is that what they're getting at?
But it's not very clear, is it?
It wasn't clear. I was hoping... Well, see, I've not seen the movie, The Wizard of Oz, since I was like 7, so I was hoping that you would fill me in some of these connections that I made.
Well, I've seen the movie like a couple of years ago, because I really love that movie.
Yeah, so the fact that you can't even tell me if that's him becoming the Lion...
I'm not sure. This is the problem with they've made it so edgy. That it's like, okay, I guess that's the Lion. Because they're hinting at it, but nothing about him feels like he's...
A coward?
A coward, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and then where does that leave Tin Man?
I would be getting spoilers if I was going to speculate, to be honest.
Right,
on
okay.
that, but
I'm not even sure what that's meant. I mean, Scarecrow is like, I get, okay,
yeah,
no brain, there's a link there.
It's funny, I do kind of like the idea of a dark, almost horror-esque version of Wizard of Oz, but I don't think it should be a TV show. I think it should be a 2-hour movie because it's a simple journey. Like I
Yeah.
was almost laughing at myself because when she gets shown the yellow brick road, and I was like, wait, are we actually going to be following this yellow brick road for like all 10 episodes? Like, are we going to be going down this road? It feels like we can't possibly be because we're having scenes in Emerald City with.
Yeah, so she's got to get there at some point and deal with that side of the story.
And the bad part about that though is it not only is some of it goofy in and of itself and kind of just honestly boring, it also gives me memories of Oz the Great and the Powerful, which is not a good movie.
I did not see it. For good reason.
Sam Raimi basically remade Army of Darkness, but without any of the charm.
I kind of want to see it now, just out of morbid curiosity.
Have you seen Army of Darkness?
No, but I know I've seen bits and I know enough. But now I want to see this just to.
You should watch Army of Darkness first, right?
Well, yeah, that's one I want to watch anyway, just because.
And then watch Oz the Great and the Powerful and just note how beat for beat the plot is the exact same thing.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, how he gets there is different, but the way it's like a outsider coming and then saving the people with his like present day trickery kind of stuff.
See, now I do kind of want to watch it, just out of morbid curiosity. I never wanted to before because it didn't look good.
And like it was over long. It was, ugh. No, and honestly, I didn't hate this as much as I hated that movie.
No, I feel like a lot of it's just mediocre.
Yeah,
like the sets are just eh.
The sets are again. It's the budget coming in and not really working. Spoilers ahead. I'll cut that in. There's the odd okay moment. Like the one thing I did really enjoy was when Dorothy tricks the Witch of the East to shoot herself with a gun. I suppose we're on spoilers now.
Yeah, I was just thinking.
Okay. Oops. I'll edit in a wee spoiler warning there. Yeah, when she tricks the Witch of the East to shoot herself with the gun, and she's like, "You're pointing it the wrong way." That was a cool little moment.
It was, and she was like, "Oh, only a witch can kill a witch." It's like, well, yeah, it's clever enough.
Well, this is why I think because the South one's already dead. I'm thinking the South Witch is actually the mother of her.
Well, yeah, because they say the East, North, and West are all sisters, and the South was the mother, which can give birth to all the witches. But then, why didn't she die before? Because Dorothy, like they think she's dead, and then she's not, right?
Yeah, she gets hit with the car because it's the car that she comes in the tornado. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they think she's dead, and she gets up. She's like, "Nah, only a witch can kill a witch. You ain't no witch," basically. And then, so how does that work? Then, if she is a witch,
maybe she just wasn't enough to kill her the first. Like maybe the car hit was just knocked her out. Like it just wasn't enough to kill her.
Maybe, but it was very much played like, nah, she's dead. But then it was like, oh, she's not.
It's back to it feeling rushed though. Like the way Dorothy just runs into this town full of people immediately, and in the process of 5 minutes, we have her have an awkward conversation with them, be tortured and dunked underwater for maybe being a witch.
Which I actually thought looked alright.
And then they help her and lead her to the road.
Yeah, like the first part of the awkward conversation, like I get.
Yeah.
Going torturing her, I get, because they think, whatever. And then they vote and they help her. I feel like I missed something there.
Yes.
Like a big section, like a good 5 or 10 minute section of stuff happening.
It was weird. It felt like stuff was missing. A big part of these 2 episodes, of course, is she finds Scarecrow, who she refers to as Lucas, and they kind of bond. And he looks kind of Scarecrowish when she meets him because he's up on the on the post and he's got all the hair or whatever like covering his body. But then he gets cleaned up and he's just a guy.
Yeah, but the whole thing of Scarecrow is he wants to find a brain, and this is he can't remember anything, so he's essentially his brain is empty. So I can kind of get that.
Okay. So we're in spoilers anyway, because I flubbed and went into spoilers without realising. So the other big part of the plot which is mainly the second half, is we have this witch woman who's like hiding a kid in her house.
Yeah.
and the kid's friend is trying to like
Rescue the kid.
rescue the kid. I keep saying the kid without saying gender because I knew it was a girl the whole time. There was no doubt in my head that this was a girl, but for some
Right.
reason they were all playing it as if it was a boy.
Well, see, I thought that, but then they said, "Oh, it's a boy," so I just kind of went, "Okay, then."
Yeah, but every time she spoke, I'm like, that's a girl's voice. This is
Well,
bollocks.
yeah, I thought that, but then I just thought, "Oh, maybe it's just they're young and pre-puberty, and sometimes they can sound similar."
Yeah, but then obviously, but the episode ends on the big twist, because she's out in the sun or whatever, and she ends up having long hair already, and she's a girl, and it's like the big twist, and I'm like, yeah, she was a girl the whole time. No, what?
Well, this is why I was confused because I just
Yeah.
like I thought that, but then they kept saying him and boy, and I was like, "Okay, fine."
Yeah, you were just rolling with it because
I just thought, okay, I must have been wrong.
But no, so that fell flat because I'm like, yeah, this was
Yeah.
meant to be a twist. If anything, it just makes all the other characters seem stupid.
A little bit.
Either that, or she was genuinely meant to be a boy and she's turned into a girl, but they made the mistake of not casting like a different actor, and because of it, it just.
I think that's what happened.
You think that's what happened? Okay.
Yeah, like that's what the medicine was keeping her in a boy's body.
Okay.
Because then it doesn't take it, right? And then they wake up.
See, this is why it doesn't work though, because we're sitting having to do this.
No, I agree. I'm not
Yeah.
saying it works. I'm saying I think that's what's happened.
Okay. All right.
Just weird.
Just weird. I agree. And then the witches are doing some ritual to try and take the spells out of the now dead Witch of the East. We've got the North one and the West one. Obviously, the West is going to become the Wicked, who she's not quite yet. She's not very pleasant, but she's not wicked yet per se.
No.
And yeah, I don't. I mean, it's very.
So who was the Tin Man?
I was assuming one of the kids was going to turn out to be the Tin Man. Look, see when she was talking to the kid, the witch woman, and she was saying, "Oh, you can't go out in sunlight." You know, like I was like, "Oh, did she turn into tin?" Is it like I thought that's
Well,
where
yeah,
it was going.
but then she doesn't. So it's like, well, I don't get it. I really don't get. The only thing I can think of the Tin Man wants a heart, and before they go to sleep, they're out in the forest, and they got all pains. And it's like in a chest.
Yes.
So I mean, I guess that would be something to do with a missing heart. And then she says, "Oh, bad blood." So I don't know. Maybe I don't know. It's really confused. Like there isn't enough for me to go on to even figure out who's supposed to be the Tin Man in Wizard of Oz. This is not right.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the soldier who's going to become the lion. Actually, I was going to get into a complaint earlier, and I forgot to actually get to the point because we tangented into whether or not he's going to be the lion. I didn't like the motivation for the other soldiers to want to murder him was just like non-existent. It was like in a conversation. Yeah, we don't really like him. We should probably just kill him, and we'll say get mauled by a lion. Like, all right, sure.
Yeah, and I just don't get it. I think that's a big problem I have with this. It just does stuff.
It just does stuff. Yeah, it's trying to do all these fantasy things without actually giving characters motivations and.
Yeah, or and like we said when Dorothy's in the village and they let her go, it's like they just do it. There isn't anything explaining any of this. There's no scene of why. It's just, oh, this just happens.
Either a lot of stuff got cut, or the script was just like, no, let's just run through this. We need to get to the other
I'm
stuff.
more inclined to think that. Like, they want to just get on with it and pretend it doesn't matter, but it does.
Yeah, nothing has weight because of the result. Like I said, the lead actress is not bad, and I think she has decent chemistry with Lucas, the Scarecrow. Like, I feel like their banter when they're walking and talking, and she's trying to teach them jokes or whatever. Like,
yeah,
that was fine.
Knock jokes. That was fine.
The dog's probably the standout star of the.
I'm actually a little bit
show.
disappointed because this is Wizard of Oz and there is not enough of the dog. Just should be much more prominent, in my opinion.
Yeah. But we have to get back to present day in some way, because there was a whole thing when she finds her mum. She's been shot. There's a dead cop in her trailer.
It's gonna do the Narnia thing, isn't it? Where she comes back and like no time's passed.
Maybe.
I mean, that's the only way I can logically see it. Continue that. Otherwise, she's dead. Also, why did the cop immediately jump to try and shoot her?
tornadoes make people twitchy. I don't know, but she has to throw up her hands and say don't shoot. When
Yeah, she's like, oh hey, come and help me. There's someone lying dead, and he just turns around and pulls a gun on her. What?
I'm assuming something just happened. You know, his partner, whoever inside, has been killed. Something evil has been here, a monster from Oz or something, and he's like on edge. He's twitchy.
All right, I'll allow that. But it just felt really weird when it was just okay. Again, I felt like I was missing something.
Yeah, that was happening a lot, and like I say, I was kind of checked out because there was a lot of stuff like about blades having significance and like this blade's magic, this thing's poison. There's a running thing where everyone thinks that Dorothy's a witch because she's a nurse and she can like use some herbs to heal people and whatnot. Which, by the way, I'm not going to dispute it too much because like, if this is her character, this is her character, but she has a lot of really good knowledge about medicine for a typical nurse. Like even doctors wouldn't necessarily know how to take ingredients and herbs and make medicine out of it. She's very handy with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I could argue that maybe that's to do with her growing up on a farm.
Maybe that might be it. But it's
again, it's something we should have seen.
It was the way I mean, maybe this is just part of medical training. Maybe because obviously I don't have medical training. I don't know exactly what they teach you. But
my mother's a nurse, and she couldn't do any of that. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. Right. So some first-hand experience. But you know, the way she was like, okay, we need like penicillin or antibiotics. Okay, obviously it's not going to be made here, but if I get this, and this, I can like essentially make have the same effect. And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure most nurses couldn't couldn't whip that up. Yeah,
I don't believe that for a second. And again, like I said, maybe it's something to do with her being on a farm. You know, something to do with that. But show us some of this, please.
Yeah, it just feels forced.
So much they don't show anything of that. It just makes nothing kind of have any sense to it.
Yeah. I think the Witch of the East looked kind of cool. Her red sort of like gown floating around was kind of cool.
It was a nice shot, you know. After she shot herself, she's laying back. You had it all flowed out, and you did the bird's eye shot. That looked nice. Yeah, the
visuals with that stuff was kind of good. Again, every time it went to Emerald City, it felt like it just dipped dramatically.
Yeah, Witch of the East was probably the standout costuming part.
Yeah, but it says something when I'm like, Dorothy in regular clothes with a cop jacket was easily the best outfit because it looked real and didn't feel goofy or cheap or silly.
Yeah.
So, needless to say, we will not be watching episode 3 of Emerald City because we didn't really like it and it was kind of honestly tedious to get through.
Yeah.
Not the worst thing ever. It's not like MacGyver bad. It's not like
that's kind of thing. I find it almost easier to get through those because it's bad. I can go, oh, this is awful. I'm enjoying
funny.
how awful this is.
You're laughing at how ridiculously stupid
Whereas this is just boring, which is worse.
It's thoroughly in that middle ground, but there's so much of it that's not working.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's Emerald City. Let us know what you thought of this double pilot extravaganza. Let us know in the comments, like and subscribe and all that stuff. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.